If you're struggling with a drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to take action and get professional help. Call Recovery Centers of America at 1-800-941-2358. You are worthy of recovery from your addiction, and calling RCA will be the first step in getting the help you need. Recovery Centers of America answers the phone and admits patients 24/7, and because safety is a top priority, all patients and staff are routinely tested for COVID-19. Their expert team of physicians and medical professionals will treat you with compassion and dignity and provide an evidence-based treatment plan that's custom-tailored to your specific needs. Recovery Centers of America has detoxification and residential treatment centers across the East Coast and Midwest, and many of their treatment centers are in-network with insurance providers. So RCA's best-in-class inpatient and outpatient care, which is offered both in-person and via teletherapy, is affordable and accessible. Make this the year you conquer your addiction. Call 1-800-941-2358, 800-941-2358.
If you use the words sleazy, icky, slimy, nasty, or anything about having to do with sick or unpleasantness about the idea of selling, you have sales avoidance. I love that you brought up cartoons and everything else because it's not your fault if you think that selling is sleazy by nature, because it gets reinforced by everything all the time.
That's Annie P. Ruggles. She is a strategist and a founder of the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy. If you're the type of person that finds it difficult to ask for payments for a service you rendered, or you like the marketing aspect of your business, but not so much the, face-to-face sales part of your business, that's kind of like a self-objection. And Annie provides a masterclass on how to overcome self-objections. That's next on Socially Latino.
Socially Latino podcast looks into the extraordinary human stories of entrepreneurs. Through conversation, you'll get a masterclass from thought leaders that tell it how it is. You'll get real-life experience testimony in an actionable context that future and present entrepreneurs can use today. Learn from those that are on the journey. This is Socially Latino.
All right. Hey, welcome to the Socially Latino podcast. My name is Mark, your host. And today I have a very special guest, but I want to make sure I set this up right. So sales, we know that sales is the heart of our business. As entrepreneurs, we're wearing all types of caps, right? We got the sales cap, we got the HR cap, marketing, we got all of it. But sales, we know we spend a lot of time in that because that's really how we expand. That's how we grow. And that's how we make things happen. And one of the challenging things is that sometimes, are we doing it right? Or sometimes when we become entrepreneurs, we have to get out of that shell and really push ourselves to be salespeople. But one of the challenges that we have is that because we've never were salespeople, is that we have to, we think about how this. I think we getting out of our shells. We have to focus on how to best do that because we don't want to feel like we're coming across too sleazy or anything like that, right? And I know that's a challenge that I've had within myself. So I want to bring somebody on board who she's a professional at this. She's actually created a whole academy around this and actually even named it this as well. And she is going to really introduce us and get us get us into this point. So I want to now bring on board, let me introduce her real quick. She is the inventor of the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy, seasoned sales professional, strategist, speaker, author, and she hosts her own podcast called the Too Legitimate to Quit podcast. And she's also she has a soul of a Muppet. Let's bring on board Annie P. Ruggles. Hi.
Hey, Mark.
How are you?
Thanks for having me here.
What's your department to 10? You owe me Coke.
Oh, man. I'll mail it to you. Just don't open it right away. It'll be pretty shaken up, I guess.
Yeah, right. Andy, I want to thank you and welcome to the Social Latino podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really am excited to be here today.
Absolutely. We are too. I am too. I'm really excited because I got to tell you, I went to your website. I went to your LinkedIn. I'm stalking you at this point because your blogs were just incredible. I read all, you have a few blogs on there from 2019, early part of 2019, and they're incredible. I read some of that stuff.
Wow. Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure I hit some points here, but before I get to that, I want to start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Let's start with your business because that's, let's get that in play here. Let's talk about what is it that you do and what is your business?
Awesome. Well, I am the founder of the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy, as you alluded to that before in that lovely intro. And what the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy's mission is to help small businesses, largely healers, helpers, and coaches, sell in a way that is in keeping with the ethics, integrity, and enthusiasm that brought them into business in the first place, and not like their competitors, and also not avoiding the sale by over marketing but never asking. So that's where my whole company comes together, around those cores of ask avoidance, of win-win selling, and of relationship-based selling.
And the Sales Academy, so it says you're the dean of it as well. So this is online.
Yep.
You host videos.
I used to host live events as well, but COVID. So that's not happening at the moment. I hope in the future to be able to share physical space with people again. But right now, you can find a ton of my content on YouTube, on Clubhouse, and on my podcast, which you also mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. The Too Legitimate to Quit podcast.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, if others are looking to do exactly what you're doing, how did you start this? How did you say, I woke up one morning and I said, this is what I'm going to do, and these are my steps that I went about to do this?
You know what? I followed the signs in my business to get here, because I have been working with small businesses for a really long time, like over a third of my life. And I'm not all that old, but still a third of my life it's probably closer to half at this point, if we're being honest, right? But I started first I was a life coach at like the very beginning boom of life coaching back in like the aughts, right? And then people started hiring me, but when they hired me, they weren't actually looking for my happiness coaching. They were looking for information about how I had made my brand new coaching business almost instantly pretty profitable. And so I thought, wow, I guess I have a natural knack for marketing. I was doing all my own marketing, and I had some marketing adjacent careers before. And I thought, you know what? Why don't I become an expert in this? Why don't I become an expert in marketing specifically and branding for very, very small businesses? And I loved that. I absolutely adored that. I did that for years. I took a brief, weird detour into software to be the head of marketing and sales for a software firm for a couple of years. That was freaking weird. And then in 2017, I went back out on my own. And what I realized through 2017 and into 2018, 2019, and certainly where we are now, is that my customers, who are so driven and so fabulous, were spending so much time, so much energy, and so much money on me even with their marketing, but weren't crossing revenue finish lines or even coming close. And so I started asking, what the heck is the problem here? Why are incredible, talented, driven, dedicated, brave people, heart-centered people, going out of business left and right in this profession where other people are, crushing it? Why? And what I realized was sales avoidance. They would not be asking. And so I was like, okay, hold on. If I'm going to take them through months, some of them years of marketing, and I'm not going to change what I'm doing so that I can become the specialist in crossing them across that final step, my clients are going to stay stuck forever. So I looked at my own problems. I looked at my own blockages. I realized a lot of sales avoidance in myself. and set out to remedy that while I was still doing marketing and branding coaching. And ultimately, when I felt like I was really ready to serve, I transitioned and now I only teach sales.
So let's talk about sales avoidance. What are those signs? People who may be in denial of what that is, and they're listening, they're like, do I have sales avoidance? What are those things that you can pick out right away that says, yeah, there's sales avoidance involved with
if you use the words sleazy, icky, slimy, nasty, or anything about having to do with sick or unpleasantness about the idea of selling, you have sales avoidance. If you are terrified to name the price on things because you feel like they're automatically going to say no, you have sales avoidance. If you know that you're spending every single inch of your business on marketing, but then you get a lead and you don't know what to do with that lead, you got sales avoidance. And that's okay. A ton of us do because we're taught know, like, trust, right? We're supposed to be able to fulfill those three things. If they know us, if they like us, if they trust us, if we're visible and likable, then, it's supposed to be the field of dreams. This is just supposed to frickin' happen. And the truth of it is, no, you have to ask them for the sale. So it's really know, like, trust, ask. And if the idea of asking either makes you uncomfortable or you don't have a set real strategy around asking and asking often, then I'm going to guess that you go ahead and put yourself in the sales avoidant column.
Gotcha. So what is the entrepreneur drive that you had to create this business?
So it's funny. I'm a multi-generation entrepreneur. My mom is a motivational speaker, famous and dedicated, decorated, every possible bell and whistle is my mother, and she's amazing. My father was a business strategist. And so I grew up watching my mom and dad cobble together my mom's empire. And so I'm really lucky where other kids, did not grow up in entrepreneurial spaces where they were supposed to go into the family business or the family trade or, be a doctor, be a lawyer, and all of that is great. But I grew up much more in the expectation that I could do what I wanted to do and set my own rules if I worked hard enough. And I got to see from a really early age what that looks like. But as such, I always understood that these businesses are attached to dreams, real, actual dreams. And as a highly empathic, very emotional, very short human Muppet, as a kid, especially, whenever I would see businesses have signs that say going out of business, I would just break down. I would lose my mind. It didn't matter if it was for a product or service I would never need as a 9-year-old, 10-year-old, or even now. It didn't matter. When I saw that sign in the window, all I could think of as a kid was that somebody's dream and that dream is dying. And so I remember being really young and being like, I'm going to help more people like my mom really make this work for them. So that's why I started in life coaching. I wanted to help busy professionals find more happiness and whimsy in their day. And then I realized that no, I want to really put more foundational training underneath people in terms of marketing. And now I just want to lovingly push people across the finish line of sales because it's critical. So that's really where I get to, because you said in the intro, which I totally agree with, that we spend a lot of time on sales, but some people don't spend any time on sales. Some people spend all their time on marketing. And I am not villainizing marketing. I freaking love marketing. I'm passionate about it. I nerd out about it. I read freaking marketing books like they are novels. Nom, 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 nom. I eat those up. But it's not the final step of the process. Right. And I realize that with my whole being now. So now I'm like, okay, everybody, come on. We got to start selling. Let's go. Get in the car. We're going shopping. And by shopping, I mean, we're going to make money today. Yeah. So that's where it's going.
I think it's a combination of both, right? Marketing and sales, they're hand in hand.
Yes.
And, I think even I worked in corporate America, and I know that even in then, marketing and sales are two different departments, and I always saw that being as a gap.
Yeah,
they're they're one of the same. They both need each other they need to coexist together, and they need to feed off each other in order for it to be successful. And I always felt like, they've always separated sales from the marketing guys and would just bring them in to approve an ad or anything like that. But they're one of the same.
I love that, because it's the baton between sales and marketing needs to keep passing all the time. Truly, honestly, to function really, really well. And I've been a little bit in corporate, and I understand how they structure stuff over there. But for those of us who are small businesses and marketing businesses and marketers, we constantly need to be swapping. No matter what your role is in your organization or within someone else's small organization, every single day, ideally, you should be going sales, marketing, sales, marketing, sales, marketing, to the point where you don't notice it anymore, but you're definitely shifting.
Yep. When you need to build that pipeline, marketing, and when you've got someone in the pipeline, you need to put on the sales hat. Absolutely.
And that's where I think people get so stuck, is filling the pipeline and then knowing what the heck to do with the people in the pipeline.
Right. Yep, absolutely. So I gotta kind of break off the question here, because I wanted to ask you this at the beginning. Muppet was one of my favorite TV shows when I was growing up as a kid.
Yay!
So which Muppet are you?
Oh man, I think if I had to pick, I would be a hybrid of Red Fraggle from Fraggle Rock and Kermit's nephew.
Oh, the little, yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. I think his name is Robin. Kermit's nephew, Robin, and Red Fraggle combined. That would be me. And just give me like a sales textbook to carry around and shout about, and I'll be fine.
I would be Fonzie. Waka, waka, waka.
Yes! Oh, I can see that Fozzie Bear energy on you, Mark. Yeah.
That would be my Muppet, my soul Muppet.
I love that we're calling that out, because I will say one thing, just totally off topic. Since I have added that human element to my bio, it's so goofy. And in some ways, it can make me look very, very unprofessional. But in my circles, it doesn't, because I'm peppering in that among my criteria and my credentials and my CV and all that. I got to tell everybody out there, since I put Soul of a Muppet in my biographic and in my bio, I have had more fabulous conversations with people, because they feel like they understand me faster, and they feel like they know that they can let their inner whatever out with me, because I'm putting it out there. Like, I'm a human freaking Muppet, y'all. So if there's Muppetness in you, you don't have to call it Muppetness, but from a business and financial standpoint, it was a very good choice for me to do that.
I could see that. It softens a person up when you can relate to something. And it also, in a sense, it also too defines your age group as well, because, the younger generation probably look at that like, what is a Muppet? I've never seen that. But, people who you probably want to do business with are like, oh, I know exactly what that is. Oh, I want to ask her, who's her soul Muppet?
Right. And that's kind of lovely about my demographic, is most of us are kids that grew up with Muppets. Like, I was born in 1984. So like peak Muppet era. Or some of my older clients have kids that were big into the Muppets. And so it's kind of lovely, because my demographic is like 30 to 56. And in such, that's just, peak Muppet mania. Yeah. Right up in there.
I want to elaborate on the non-sleazy sales academy. So when I first saw that, I was not always in sales, and of course, becoming an entrepreneur, I 100% became in sales. But before that, when I worked for companies, I was introduced into sales kind of awkwardly, and it was a transition where I was an engineer. That's the kind of mindset I have. I'm actually an engineer background. And they wanted me to become a salesperson. And to me, because I don't really know I didn't know what sales was back then. The vision I had of salespeople was this sleazy car salesman. Yep. And I think a lot of people have that where they think of sales like, oh my God, I don't want to come across like a used car sales guy or a used car girl. And I don't want to do that. Right. how do you tell somebody that that's not what you are, or don't think of it that way, because that's kind of an image that people make, a presumption they make themselves. This is something they put. Nobody's told them this because they have no idea. I didn't.
No.
But that's what I see. And let's go back to the Muppet thing. Cartoons. I used to watch Tom and Jerry and all those other cartoons, and there were like sleazy salespeople in some of those cartoons, and that's what I envisioned. That's what I see myself as, right? Or I saw myself as. Not anymore, but before I did. How do you break somebody from that?
I love that you brought up cartoons and everything else, because it's not your fault if you think that selling is sleazy by nature, because it gets reinforced by everything all the time. Yeah. The way that I actually came up with the idea for my podcast, Too Legitimate to Quit, which is all pop culture and small business strategy, is I was playing Animal Crossing, which is a Nintendo game.
I love that game.
Right? And there's this fox character who sells you fake art. Yeah. And the very first thing he does is he's like, Mark, I like you. We're going to be cousins. And I was like, oh, this guy's fun. Like, what's his deal? And I'm like, well, he's a fox, so this is probably not going to look great, right? But he's like, cousin, I'm going to give you my cousin discount, and I just love you, and you're my cousin, and I normally sell it for this, but for you, because you're my cousin, I'm going to sell it for this. And I was like, oh, this is hysterical. I'm being taught by Animal Crossing, a game I dearly love, that selling with a relationship focus with all that cousin stuff is terrible. And I was like, ooh, I should do this whole thing about selling in Animal Crossing. And then I was like, I could do that for everything. And then I realized that these negative representations of salespeople are freaking everywhere. Everywhere. They're everywhere. So if you have that ingrained in you, number one, you're not alone. Number two, it's not your fault. But the number one reason why people actually internalize that information is because every single one of us has been burned by a sleazy seller in the past. Every single one of us has purchased something that we put trust and faith behind that wasn't worth it. We've invested in someone that didn't return it. We bought a lemon. Whatever it is. Every single one of us have been burned by salespeople, not once, maybe 100 times, maybe 1,000. And so we're taking societal ideas of what selling is and combining it with our own negative experiences of being sold to. And so what we really feel is we go, well, I don't want to be like that, but we don't understand that there is an alternative out there and a better way to do it. So how I break people of that is exactly the conversation we're having now. Number one, it's not your fault. Number two, it's freaking everywhere and pervasive. Number three, your own trust and faith in the sales process is likely very scarred up just from the act of being a person and a consumer in this world, right? But if you are not trying to manipulate someone into buying something that they may or may not need because you want them to buy it, if you can detach yourself from that definition of sales, right? I don't care if Mark wants a car, a bicycle, or a plane. He's going to buy this tank because I'm selling a tank today. Right. But if instead you can say, I'm going to listen to Mark, whether I actually ever encounter him or not, he could be a random lead on the internet. But if I'm going to project listening, compassion, care, if I'm going to work as a brand to foster trust, then all I'm doing when I'm asking for the sale is I'm saying, here is the price, not just the financial price. Here is the energetic price, the time price. Here are the prices of what I'm offering you in fair exchange for the transformation that you're seeking. Whether that transformation is, I have a hole in this room that needs a couch, or I need to lose 60 pounds, or I want to scale my business, whatever that is, when you're selling, you're just saying, hey, are you hungry? I have this apple. It costs $1. Would you like it? That's it.
Very right. It sounds like it's just get to the point of your sales. Is not so much trying to disguise it as something else because it's Like that character, he knows he's trying to swindle you.
Right.
Because he's coming around it to where he doesn't want to just present the product. He wants to first say, I need to build this up for it before I could present it, because otherwise my sales will die. Right.
I love that word you use there, swindler. I love that word because, yes, Red the Fox in Animal Crossing does know that he is a swindler and he is trying to swindle you. Abso-freaking-lutely. A lot of people are trying to swindle you. I could go on Instagram right now and I won't, but I could. And I would point out like this person's sleazy, this person's sleazy, this person's sleazy. I could cancel culture the entire internet based on this. Okay. I could, but that's not the point. The point is there is nothing inherent in the act of asking for money that will corrupt who you are as a person simply by doing it. Because I see that all the time too. People are like, well, I can't sell. I'm nice. I'm like, well, it's not going to make you not nice.
Yeah, I've heard of that too. Whereas I'm too nice to sell.
Like, okay, cool. Be nice and sell. Like, would you rather be nice and poor or nice and have a business? Like, yeah, I can't sell. I'm nice. Well, I'm not asking you to fundamentally change yourself. And any sales trainer that does is not training you. They're training the masses and trying to get paid by you. Right? Any sales trainer worth their weight in salt or anything will tell you that you should be bringing out the best parts of yourself and the things that come naturally to you in selling situations before you go adopt some other thing, because we know when people are being phony with us. And we know when someone is really trying to get into a sales persona that is not them. We can see it. We see it all the time when we're being sold to.
I think the best sales is the authentic sales when you are yourself and you present the product that you believe in.
Yeah.
That's the best one.
But even if you're selling someone else's, it's selling from that place of yourself. And the other fundamental part is listening, because at the end of the day, what they buy and whom they buy it from is not about you. It's about their need. And it always was. When we make it about ourselves, when we make it about our own hangups, when we make it about our own limitations, that's when we start apologizing on these calls. That's when we start losing That's when we start losing sales in the blink of an eye.
So in your blogs, there was I think there was one of them here that I liked. And I wrote it down. Let me see if I can find it here real quick.
You're inspiring me to start blogging again. I don't think I've written down.
I read this one, and in the title it says you charge that.
Yep.
And I've heard that. You give them something like you charge that for that. That it's kind of is an objection that you get, and I know a lot of people get that kind of objection. How do you help somebody who already feels they're sleazy and they get something like that thrown at them? I mean, that's gotta bring you back to your fetal position. Be like, oh Jesus, I feel like I'm being sleazy now.
Right? Well, a couple different ways that we can look at that. Number one, I need all of our viewers and listeners today to understand that price is completely relative to each person. So what $256 is to me is not the same as it is to you, Mark. It's not the same that it is to my neighbor. And it also changes day to day. I saw your daughter running around. If she needs to go to the doctor, that $256 is going to look a lot different than a $256 bottle of Jameson. But right now, across the world, around the world, people of all income levels are spending more money than what you are charging on things like purses, on things like electronics. And I'm not knocking this. I love all of these things. My husband will drop a fat chunk of change on a beautiful bottle of scotch to celebrate something. That's not my style. That's his style, but that's also his money and his prerogative. But here's the thing. He has purchased things that are more expensive than my highest ticket program, and he did that pleasurably. That's his money. That's his style. Now, if I turn around and I deal with a $200,000 per launch coach, and the next day I meet a single mom of 7 who just lost her job because of COVID, my program, my $448 program, is going to look very different to those two people on the same day. But what is not relevant is what I think of my own price point. That is not relevant. That is based on a need that you have. And if you are filling your own need, you're very unlikely to need it. Right? Like most of the nail techs I know do their own nails or have a friend who does it while they're both on the thing. Like, how much would you spend to get your nails done? They're going to say, well, nothing. Right. I do my own. I'm a professional. How much money am I spending on a sales trainer right now? 0. I am my own sales trainer. How much am I spending on a marketing consultant right now, though? A lot. And why? Because I need it.
Right.
Does his rate matter to me? Yes, of course. His rate matters to me because I have to be able to afford it. Right. And it has to be able to be something that I can commit to. I don't want to hire somebody for 1 second and then not know where I'm going to get it. But his rate is his rate is his rate. And if I need it, and if that rate works for me, that should be enough. But the whole thing with you charge for that? Oh my God, you charge for that? Heck yes. Heck yes. And I guarantee you, wherever you set your price point, there are people out there making money and money's not the only option and our only outcome, and money's not the only goal. And I'm not like crazy about money, although I am crazy about money. But somebody right now is out there charging more than you and making money doing it. And somebody out there right now is charging less than you and making money doing it. So if you hit you charge for that? ? Normally that's sort of tinged by people in jealousy or in the throes of a financial objection. But look around. If you've carved a place for yourself out in an industry, then the answer is you charge for that is yes, because you're a specialist. You're an expert. You've worked hard. You've accrued all of this knowledge, right? And so in that blog post that you mentioned, I tell people what I say when people bring up the fact that I charge to help people sell things. And I love to say, I could pull your tooth out for free. Meaning, oh, you don't need to go to the dentist. Why would you pay a dentist for that? Why on earth would you pay a dentist? I can pull your tooth out for free. You got a sore tooth? It's okay. I saw it in a Looney Tunes cartoon once. You wrap up a piece of string around it, you tie it to a door, you slam it, Wile E. Coyote runs through, end of story, tooth out. I could do that for free. Do you want me to pull your tooth out? And they're like, oh my God, no, that's the most horrifying idea. Like, why did you even put that graphic in my head? And I'm like, that's what you are allowing people to say to you about your value. And that's what you're saying about your own value if you're not willing to assert yourself in the form of a price point.
I want to switch gears to networking, but before I go there, I do want to ask this one question relating to that. You charge us what? I found that I used to practice on my own family members because they're the best ones at doing that. You charge that when they figure out what to do. and I would practice my I guess the way I would kind of deal with that objection with my own family members to help me get through that. Speaking of family members, what do you think about family discounts? Entrepreneurs, we do our work and then we have this, should I be giving my family a discount or I know it's kind of a personal choice, but I'd like to get what your opinion is on that.
I love this question, Mark. I love it. Thank you for asking it. I almost never get asked it. I wish I got asked it all the time. So, friends and family discounting. Do I do it? Yes. Is it heavily boundaried? Yes. In that, I have a very pickable brain. People love to pick my brain. They are always wanting. And also, like, a new business idea is like, I have an idea for an app, which I heard like every 4 seconds when I was in software. I have an idea for an app. I have an idea for an app, right? And so I want to be supportive of my friends and family, but also this is my occupation and I don't want to be in time poverty. So I do offer a friends and family discount to people who are actually my friends and actually my family.
Gotcha.
Because what I see a lot of people doing with good intention is they do like the Macy's version, like the Macy's Insider Friends and Family Sale, which is a public freaking sale. Like, don't do that to yourself. If you're going to have a discount of any kind, put limits around it and make sure that even with that friends and family discount, that the rate that you're charging them is well above your bar of resentment. Because in these friends and family situations, and know what that price is ahead of time, right? Because in these friends and family situations, your aunt comes to you, she's crying, right? Like, she wants help and you don't want to turn her away and she's not asking you for very much and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's going to be so much harder to come up with a price on the spot when your aunt is crying in your lap, okay? It's going to be a lot harder. And so what are you going to do? You're going to quote a price that's way too stinking low. And then you still got to deliver that work, baby. You still got to do that thing. I still got to write that copy. I still got to coach that sales team. And in a non-COVID time, if I tell somebody I'm going to come speak to their team, I got to put my butt on a plane that I paid for. Right. And so if you're going to offer it, but be very strict on who you give those discounts to and set the rate ahead of time. Please do not wait until someone you care about is in the throes of a crisis to set your pricing, because you will wind up resenting that person that you so desperately want to help when you have to deliver 18 hours of work for a pittance.
Or you might resent them because they put you through all this and you know that you didn't charge them much. So they're resenting you and you're resenting them. So it's almost a bad situation for either of you. I
don't really respond that badly when I ask this question. So I want to teach everybody this question. Insert your own name and insert your own job title, right? But are you asking Annie, your cousin, or are you asking Annie, sales trainer? Because if you're asking Annie, your cousin, I'm going to give you my 2 cents on this. We'll sit down. We'll talk about grandma. We'll have a nice time and I'll throw some advice at you.
Right.
If you're asking Annie, sales trainer, let me tell you about my friends and family rate and how I might be able to help you in a more official capacity, because that gives them an out to be like, oh no, I have no intention of ever paying you.
That's good. Yeah.
You are my aunt's favorite child and I will never da-da-da-da-da-da. Right? That's fine. Let them elect out and let them do that little bit of brain picking that relationship affords them. But I was so nervous to start asking that question when I first did. And what I realized beautifully is that people that I hadn't charged in the past probably would have paid me a long time ago. Because when I say like, hey, do you want my friends and family rate? They're like, oh, I thought it was more than that. I should have been paying you. Wait, do you want me to pay you for that last time we talked? Because I didn't talk for that and I could afford this. And you're like, are you trying to pay me for a call we had a year ago because I told you I'm charging now? Like, I got the exact opposite response. They didn't run from that. They respected that boundary. And then I can show up as a business that happens to be run by someone that loves them and be professional and find that win-win, because friends and family going in there, trying to get the win for them and being super almost over benevolent about it. That's a one-way ticket to burnout and to disliking your own family.
And I think what that does to you too, it puts you on a different level with them too. When you start talking about the friends and family, I think the way I would feel would be like, oh, she's just gonna give me her opinion. But if you come to me, oh, it's professional, my mindset changes. Now I'm expecting some kind of level of service from you, and I think it's gonna be more something I can actually take action upon, because now I'm paying you for service. I think it changes the mindset of that cousin as well, to say, whoa, hold on, this is the real deal. Yeah, let me pay you for this, so that way I could really get some really good advice from you, because now you're giving me the best stuff, not the family stuff,
Also, especially in small
easy
business.
Conversation. What's that?
Especially in small business.
Right.
Like, Adele can comp as many people as she wants to. I don't know if she does. I don't know her. But like Adele can comp a whole bunch of people into a stadium show. It's a stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, good for her. She's a multi-gajillionaire. She can do what she wants. But if your brother opens a mom and pop sandwich shop and you go in every day, not only expecting a discounted sandwich, but a free combo, you're taking advantage of the situation. You're not treating your brother like a viable business. Your brother's not treating you like a viable customer. And eventually that relationship's going to erode over something as stupid as sandwiches. Right. Yeah. But instead, if you go in and you're like, hey, I'm your brother, I'm taking these chips for free. That's a little bit of a different trend, right? Like, or, hey, I'm going to get an extra scoop of tuna salad on my sandwich because that's the family discount or the family way. Awesome.
Right.
I freaking love that. Yeah. I extend calls for my friends and family. Like they buy a 45-minute call, I'll make it a 90 call or this or that. But also
extra value. Yeah.
Right. Extra value more than discounting. Absolutely. Right. But I also price my stuff really competitively to be able to be affordable to people that are not my friends and family. Right. So that people that are not my friends and family don't try to become my friends and family just to broker a discount, which doesn't make me feel very good either.
All right. Changing gears here. I want to get into networking because I think you have some fabulous stuff on your blog regarding networking. So I want to pick your brain on it. The first one is I need some clarity on this. Title was Don't Rehearse Your Pitch, but Rehearse Your Pitch.
Right. Okay. I love this. So you always know in a networking situation who has been polishing their pitch. Number one indicator is like over polishing their pitch. One indicator is if you ask me a question, you know what? We'll role play this out. Mark, ask me any question about my business at all.
So what type of customers do you typically see?
Thank you so much for that question, Mark. I really, really love that question. And thank you for asking specifically about my customers. My customers are really, really great and lovely people. And what I want to do is I want to talk to you about actually how I serve those customers, not who those customers are, but how I serve them, because that's what I have prepared and that's what I know to say and that's what I do. Right. So number one, if we over prepare, we put ourselves in a box of these are my talking points and this is all I can do. And it can come across as forced and it can also come across as you're not really listening. Like, let me come in, shout my elevator pitch at you and move on. Right? Like I got in my talking points, bing, bang, pow, on to the next person. So we don't want to do that. We do want to listen and respond to the questions that are being asked of us because we only have a little bit of time to make a first impression. Right? So first off, rehearse your pitch, but don't rehearse your pitch means listen to the questions you're being asked before you shove a spiel down their throat. Same thing on sales calls. I love a good sales script. I also hate a good sales script. You got to listen first and foremost. But also, on the flip, Mark, ask me another question about my business. Any question at all.
Okay, so one of the typical questions people ask is, so what do you do?
You know what? That's a really great question. I know what I do. This is so according to my clients, are we connected on LinkedIn? Right? That's the other thing is we don't want to go into like, let me ram my spiel down your throat as quickly as I possibly can. And we also don't want to go into like, why did you ask me what I do at a business networking event, Mark? What the hell? Right? We don't want to get thrown by you because nerves come up, right? Imposter syndrome comes up, nerves come up in the situation. So I want you to know when you go into a networking situation, number one, who are you looking to meet and go seek them out? Do not wait for people to come to you and do not only go after the biggest fish in the room, right? Go out and actively seek people out that you can talk to, number one. But when you get the chance to talk to them, if you give them a boilerplate, stupid elevator pitch, they're going to go, oh, wow, that was a nice, great polished pitch. That person must have taken a really good course on elevator pitches, and then they'll move past it. But if you slow down and you listen and you engage and you respond to the questions based on the things that you decide you want to bring with you to that event, then you're going to really kill it. So bring your talking points. Don't bring a script.
That's good. How about now reverse of that, the rehearsing, but the reverse of that. Now the icebreakers, like the one I just gave, typical. Everybody goes, hey, again, how are you? So what do you do? I mean, I know when I network, I dread that. I dread asking that because I feel like, Jesus Christ, that's what everybody does. Everybody does. It's not a really good icebreaker, but it kind of works, right? And then we get into this, and you have it in your blog too. You get to this moment of silence sometimes. Once you both gave your spiel, you're like, all right, we're kind of done talking to each other. Let's move on to the next one. But we'll get to that. Let's get to the first part. What would be good icebreakers? What would be a way to do that instead of asking, what is it that you do?
You don't have to jump straight to talking about them. So I really don't love small talk in general. So I'm not saying you don't have to start talking about them by being like, wow, what a nice continental breakfast this conference is set out for us. That's probably not going to get you anywhere. But let's say that there was a speaker on the first half of the networking event. You could go up and you could just say, hey, I'm Mark. What did you think of that speaker?
Okay.
Well, this. Oh, cool. What do you do? Now I'm asking what you do in context of what you just said. Right. So if there is something, or let's say maybe you are brought there by a mutual friend. So, it's a networking event or you're in Clubhouse and you get pinged into a room. Why did you come into this room today? Well, my friend Mark brought me here. Hi, Mark. He's over there. You should meet Mark. He's a really great guy. Well, what does Mark do? Oh, he runs this show called Socially Latino. I was on the show. And then they're going to be like, wait, you're not Latino. Why were you on the show called Socially Latino? And then we're off, right? We have something else. So then without going into goofy small talk, we either have a complimentary start if it's a genuine compliment, like I have started conversations bringing up people's socks. If I feel like they spent a lot of time on their socks that day, I wouldn't do it to somebody with normal socks. I wouldn't be like, wow, what a boring pair of socks you're wearing. But if someone has been sitting crossed ankle all day and they have these amazing rainbow socks, then this person obviously wants their socks to be a statement. Comment on the freaking socks. The thing is, just don't get stuck in the small talk.
Right. Use the small talk as an icebreaker to get to.
Yes. So shared experiences. Right. It's and you see this all the time, the bad versions of this on Cheers reruns where they're like, hey, Nami, you see that game last night? I would, unless you're at a sports event, I would not kick off talking about sports. I would not kick off talking about politics. I would not kick off talking about religion. I would not kick off talking about personal appearances. I would not. Right. But at the same point, hey, have you ever been to an event here before? It's the same thing as you would ask in a bar. Come here often? Well, don't ask it sleazy. Right. Is this your first time coming to one of Mark's events?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Why this one? I came. Sometimes you can ask a question and then answer your own question for them, which just shows I really am interested, but I don't want to put the onus of talking first on you. So I'm going to say, I came to this event because Mark and I met and I was on his show and now we're buddies and we follow each other everywhere. What are you doing here?
Right.
Right. So feel free to answer about yourself first in the context of the question.
Yeah, that actually is a pretty good answer. It is kind of talk about yourself, but you're talking about something in context of where you are. So that way it kind of opens them up to maybe reciprocate that as well. That's a pretty good, I'll try that. That's a good note to take there.
If you don't get stuck in small talk and if you don't get stuck too much inserting all of your sentences with I, you'll be fine. Right. A little bit of I, fine. A little bit of small talk, fine. Get that icebreaker in there. That's totally fine. But the majority of the time that I have great conversations with people, it starts on even a very surface but human to human connection. And then once the ice is broken, then once we settle in, we wind up, going off to a hotel bar somewhere and talking. And then we say, okay, but wait a minute. What do you do? Oh, I teach sales. Wait, what do you do? Oh, I teach marketing. Oh my God. We've been so aligned this whole time. Now we can have a real conversation about that because we expressed interest in each other as people first in a genuine way. So yeah, that's my two, more like 87 cents. Like I kind of went on a rant there, Mark.
Well, this is what I use. I bring out my inner Fonzie self at these events, and they're usually at restaurants and things like that. I break up, people come up to me and they say, oh yeah, what you do this? Like, my name is Mark. Is like, yeah, I'm just here for the nachos, man. They're absolutely incredible here. I bring up food. I'm a big guy, so I bring up food and they go, oh yeah, okay. And then it kind of like drops them and then drops their guard and opens them up to talking about food. And then we go, okay, yeah, by the way, this is just what I do, or this is, what do you do? Then we get into that type of spiel. Yeah. Afterwards, but I like to break it up to where we're not straight going into business. Let's talk a little personal first and get our likes and things out of the way. All right, so here's the other thing.
Weird tip: introverts, because I'm actually a very loud introvert.
Oh,
and a lot of people think that I'm obviously like extremely extroverted because I talk all day for a living, right? But I'm actually really introverted, and there are times when even I will go into a network. I'm a freaking networking expert. I'm a sales expert. There are times where who knows what happened that day. You sign up for something 2 months ago. The day comes, you don't want to go. You're not feeling great. You got a headache. It's been a long day. You're homeschooling your kids because of COVID. And now you have to be on a Zoom screen and you just don't want to freaking be there. It's harder on Zoom, but it's not. Have something eye-catching on you or near you to give people something to talk about. So on times, and this works for my brand, again, the Muppet, this may not work for everybody, but wear one of your favorite pieces of clothing. Like this dress, for people that are listening on audio, I'm wearing a black and white polka dot dress with green hearts all over it. I wear this dress all the time because it's friendly, approachable, and other women happen to think it's really cute. So they'll come up and they'll be like, hey, I really like your dress. Conversation started. Conversation started. I did not have to open my mouth. I just had to stand there. I see a lot of people that have like figurines or pictures on their desks, and you'll see it behind them on a Zoom call, right? So like there'll be a picture of their family, or there'll be a bunch of like Funko Pops or a plaque or a diploma or something behind them. Hey, what is that behind you? Diploma. Oh, wait, what school is that for? Cool. You went to wherever? Right? Hey, what is that? Who is that Funko Pop? Is that Sophia from Golden Girls? Oh, I love her. I'm more of a Dorothy, right? We have that. So if you're feeling super introverted, I'm not saying like make a giant flashing billboard of yourself and dress in a way that is uncomfortable for you. But if you could put something visually interesting either on your body in a physical aspect or in your Zoom box in a video aspect, that also can help on days that you just really don't feel like starting conversations.
That's an excellent point. And I think for networking too, that's great to wear something that, maybe your clothing or a pin or something that you wear that will help with that in the conversation. Yeah.
I mean, that's why we all have freaking laptop stickers.
Yeah.
Because when we were all working in cafes, we'd be like, oh, that's a cute laptop. Exactly. Right. And so that is so that we have another thing that people can see that might lead to a conversation.
Right. It's your waving your flag. Hey, I'm here.
I exist.
All right. So we're running out of time here, but I got two questions. I may not be able to get to both, but I want to get to this one. Since we're talking about, we talked about the beginning of the networking piece, the intro. Let's talk about the outro here. The practice, the graceful ending, the conversation. I think that's one of the hardest thing because you have to move on and work the room, right? Mm-hmm. But that awkward, like, all right, talk to you later, and kind of walk away. You kind of walk away and you're like, oh, wow, that was kind of a hard exit type of thing, right?
Well, number one, just be kind, be gracious, don't be a jerk, but also don't be fakely nice either. You got places to go. It's a networking event. Or maybe, you know what? Maybe it's not that you have more people to talk to. Maybe you just have to pee or you want a bagel. Like they bring the pizza out and you're like, ooh, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten today. Like there's a million reasons to end conversations, right? Like you were talking about the nachos before. Those nachos come out. I'm probably either going to take the person that I'm with me to the nachos by saying, hey, let's continue this conversation over nachos. Or I'm going to say, listen, they just put the food out. I'm starving. Let's continue this conversation in a minute. I'm so sorry. I don't want to be rude, but there are nachos here. Like you don't even have to make excuses in terms of why. You can be honest if you want to, but maybe you're just not vibing somebody. Maybe you don't have nachos or a bathroom to run off to, right? And in that aspect, I like to have some action items that I can offer as a closing so that at least that person doesn't feel blown off. And they vary, right? They vary by person or they vary by how much I like them. Like if I do not like them at all, then I will probably say something like, I'll find you on LinkedIn. Which if I say I find you on LinkedIn, I freaking love LinkedIn. There's nothing wrong with me finding. It's not code for, oh my God, you're a jerk. But at the same point, like, I'm going to give you an action item. Hey, I'd love to stay connected on LinkedIn. I got to go talk and the next person, the event's ending in a half hour. Even if you want to get them to, hey, listen, Mark, I got to go, but I'm going to find you on LinkedIn. We can continue this conversation. Thanks for your time. Right? Like you can still be lovely and polite, but go. Or let's say that it's a great situation. You feel like you're monopolizing a person or someone is monopolizing you. That's also really uncomfortable. So come up with a great higher touch call to action so that you could say, like, obviously, Mark, you and I could talk all freaking day, but I got to go and there's nachos over there. So here's my card. On my card, don't just hand them your card. On my card, on the back, there is a link to get on my calendar. I would love to sit down and talk to you. Here's the card. Here's the link. Point it out. Okay. Hopefully I'll see you later tonight. If I don't, it was great to meet you. Nacho time.
Wow.
That's it. Have a call to action and then get out of there. Wow. Be gracious, be firm, be action oriented, and get out.
I like that a lot. Okay, speaking of nachos, we're going to have to wrap this up here soon. But before we do that, I want to get to our game. Let's get to our game. So I don't know if so we have a game that we play. It's called If I Must. And If I Must is there's 2 deck of cards I have here that I'm going to pull a question out of one of these cards and you get to answer it. So you want to play?
Yes, please.
All right, let's get the intro going for the game. Here we go.
I love the good. I mean, that song is a bop, Mark. That's a good time.
All right, here we go. Boom. Which deck? So the green deck is What the Heck deck.
Okay.
And the red deck is Would You Rather.
Ooh, let's go with What the Heck. Because I'm not sure what the heck could mean, and I'm all about it. It sounds racy or confusing, and I'm in.
All right, I'm just going to pull a card here out of anywhere, right?
I love it.
You know. Boom, here's a card. Question.
Yes.
Oh. Is cereal soup? Is cereal a soup? Why or why not?
I believe that cereal is not a soup. In order to be classified as a soup, even a gazpacho, you need your ingredients to come together in harmony through a gelling or cooking process. It needs to become one unit. Cereal remains cereal and milk, and therefore cereal is not soup.
but it's coming together. There's two ingredients.
Yeah, but you wouldn't say I'm just having like this milk soup. Like you don't talk about the milk when you have a cereal. You'll have a bowl of cereal and milk. Yeah, the milk's implied.
What
right?
if we were told wrong? What if we were told that it's cereal? We should have been calling it a soup all along. Because it's liquidy, right? It's cold. Soup is not
definitely a gazpacho. If it is a soup, it's a cold soup.
Right, because soup does not indicate if it's cold or hot.
And warm Rice Krispies is not my jam.
Well, you can warm up the milk, and now you have a warm Rice Krispies as you have.
But that's just like
flakes.
Like remember hot grape nuts? Okay, hot grape nuts are not a soup because they no longer the oats absorb the liquid and turn it into a goo. So hot cereals are also not soups because
oatmeal.
The texture isn't right.
Right. Oh, hold on. No. Let's think about this. Clam chowder.
Oh,
Clam chowder
and chili.
Or I had this yesterday. Tomato cream soup. It's creamy. So I don't know.
Is the sauce in Chef Boyardee a soup?
I don't think Chef Boyardee is anything really.
No, I don't think it is either. But that's like that canned Campbell tomato dip. And I'm like, is this a soup? Is it a tomato? Like, I don't think that's whatever. But no, Mark, no.
No. Okay.
Cereal is not a soup.
All right. Got it. All right. 3 things you would like to leave.
Cereal if it's crunchy.
If it's still, yes, exactly. All right. 3 things you would like to end with. 3 pieces of advice you can give somebody who may be starting a business or networking or has challenges with trying not to feel sleazy in sales or needs to pick up and go in sales. But what would you do?
Sales avoidance is a temporary state that you can get through. So if you feel nasty while you're selling now, that does not mean that you have to feel nasty selling forever or that you ever have to adopt sleazy tactics in your business in order to get around that. You don't. Okay. There is a better way to sell. That's number 1. Number 2, selling, we talked about this before, selling will not inherently corrupt you. Receiving money, asking for clients to come back to you, asking for testimonials, asking for referrals. If you keep doing that from a place of your good-hearted nature of your business, you will not be corrupted by the selling process. So put that fear out of your mind. And the last one is a question that I freaking adore, which is, who else should I be talking to? In every networking situation, in every podcast guest or host and guest situation, in every client situation, when you're having a great time, when you're building rapport with someone, one of the best things that you can do is say, Mark, this conversation has been sensational. I love that we're both Muppets. I love that we both can argue about soup for days. Who else gets it? Who's like you? Who else should I be talking to?
That's awesome. I love that. And with that, I want to thank you, Annie, for being on the Social Latino podcast. People, check out her website. She's amazing. Her blogs, although they're a little bit old, they're still very, very much relevant.
Okay, I'll revive the blog.
No, when I say old, meaning that they're from last year. This is like 2021. No, 2019. Sorry, the 2019. We're in 2021. But they're still. Okay.
Take it. I will brush up the blog.
They are still relevant. They're still very much relevant. You got to go check it out. Check it out. Check out her courses. And check out her blog. It's amazing. And don't forget to listen to her podcast as well. Too Legitimate to Quit podcast. Look it up on, I'm sure it's on Apple Podcasts and everywhere else that's distributed. Same as where we're distributed as well. So make sure you check it out. And with that, Andy, I want to say thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you.
Absolutely. We will definitely have you back because there's a few other questions I didn't get to. But on the next time we get you on the show, we'll definitely get to those.
Can't wait. Looking forward to it.
All right. Peace out, everyone. Thank you. I have one simple request to ask of you today. It would mean the world to me if you took a couple of minutes to go leave a rating and review of this show, the Socially Latino Podcast, on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but these ratings and reviews do help the show attract new listeners. And honestly, that's the best you can do for this show. Help get the word out. I greatly appreciate everyone who has taken the time to spread the word about Socially Latino Podcasts. I thank you.
Hey, we get it. You don't want to be hearing a Progressive commercial right now, so let us tell you something you do want to hear. You are intelligent. You make all the right decisions. You were smart before smart was cool, and you made it cool again. You have a wealth of knowledge, and you are so very clever. I bet you already knew I was going to say that, you genius. There, don't you feel better? You'll also feel better when you hear you could save big when you switch to Progressive. But I'm pretty sure you already knew that, too. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Neural networks, random forests, unsupervised learning. These are just some of the concepts being researched and utilized in security today.
But what do they mean? How do they work? And who are the people that create them? These are the questions and more we'll explore in Security Unlocked, a new podcast from Microsoft.
In each episode, we'll deep dive into the newest security research, threat intel, and data science, with a special focus on demystifying AI and machine learning.
And we'll profile the diverse and fascinating people working on security at Microsoft. Listen and subscribe to Security Unlocked, available now wherever you listen to podcasts.